第一のコース、鈴木くん。第一のコース、佐藤くん。第一のコース、高橋くん。
第一のコース、大人気ですね。
続々と選手が登ってきますね。どこまで続くんでしょう。そろそろですね。Take your mark。
第一のコース、いいスタートだ。世界記録を上回るペース。いけ、いった、どうだ。第一のコースやりました。
Origami, a traditional pastime in Japan. Simply by folding a single square of paper, it can be fashioned into a bird, a little container, almost anything at all, in fact. Let's explore the subtle world of sculpting objects from a single sheet of paper. In Japan, most people have their first experience of origami when they are children. No special equipment or tools are required, just a square of paper to fold. You don't even need scissors or glue. This girl is folding a page from a newspaper. She's making a helmet like those worn by the samurai warriors of old. These days, samurai helmets are mostly seen in historical TV dramas or on samurai dolls. But origami lets Japanese children explore unknown worlds. All kinds of things can be fashioned out of paper. Here's an iris, a lotus flower, a traditional paper balloon. From wildlife to objects found around the home, origami lets a child's imagination run free. The best known origami shape in Japan is this, the crane. In the old days, cranes were believed to live for 1,000 years. They were considered highly auspicious birds. Making origami paper cranes is a very old custom. For centuries, paper in Japan has been more than just something to write or paint on. It is seen as a sacred material, a medium for conveying important wishes. One ancient custom involves cutting paper into the shape of a person and letting it float away down a river, so as to rid the person of disease or other impurity. Paper has also long been used to wrap gifts. As a person meticulously wraps a gift intended for someone special, they focus on an image of purity and perfection. The sophisticated techniques used in gift wrapping eventually gave rise to the craft now known as origami. The traditional costume of Japan, the kimono, is an elegant garment that makes a woman look her best. With their wide variety of seasonal designs, kimonos reflect Japan's rich natural beauty. The obi, the sash, makes a kimono even more gorgeous. More than 3 meters long, the obi is tied in a beautiful and often elaborate knot. Yet even the most sumptuous kimono is constructed quite simply, just 8 rectangular strips of fabric sewn together. The origin of the kimono as we know it today was an undergarment worn in ancient Japan. Later, during the days of the samurai, authorities tried to ban extravagant kimonos, and they unwittingly inspired a kimono revolution. In the early 20th century, kimonos with bold new designs appeared. They look fresh even today and are enjoying popularity with a new generation of young women. On this edition of Begin Japanology, we look at kimonos, which fully embody the Japanese sense of beauty. A woman looks beautiful in a kimono, but there are a number of special rules to wearing one. Married women and unmarried women wear different kimonos. A single woman wears a broad-sleeve kimono on formal occasions, like the New Year or the annual official coming-of-age ceremony. These kimonos are always eye-catching. They're decorated with dyed and embroidered patterns, and the sleeves are so wide that when you put your arms at your sides, the sleeves almost touch the ground. The most formal garment for a married woman is a narrow-sleeved kimono. Worn at events like family weddings, its base color is black, but it has a luxurious design on the skirt. A family crest is displayed in such places as the upper back and the sleeves. The narrower sleeves symbolize that the woman wearing it is now married. This kind of narrow-sleeve kimono became formal wear in the early 20th century. It's said that the trend was inspired by formal Western attire. For semi-formal occasions, both married and unmarried women wear a so-called visiting kimono. Unlike the formal narrow-sleeve kimono, the visiting kimono has lavish designs on its shoulders and sleeves as well as on its skirt. Visiting kimonos are often worn to tea gatherings, parties, and other social visits, hence the name. It's extremely important to wear the right kimono at the right time and place. Typical obi is about 30 centimeters wide and 420 centimeters long. Traditionally woven from silk and decorated with ornate patterns, these sashes enhance the beauty of kimonos. Here is an obi with a colorful and vibrant pattern. Look closely and you can see that it has raised embroidery. Obi takes on different looks depending on how it's tied, and there are said to be more than 100 ways to tie an obi. Obi knots came into vogue during samurai times. This knot was named after Kamimura Kichiya, a prominent kabuki actor who was the first person to sport it. It quickly became popular thanks to his celebrity. Later, many new ways of tying an obi were invented. Let's look at a few of them. Young geisha use one of the most stunning obi styles. It requires a sash more than 2 meters longer than an ordinary one. The sections overlap like this. The angle of the overlap is designed to give a strong sense of femininity. A beautiful obi, tied in an alluring way, serves to accentuate the sophistication of a kimono.
Okay, there's a knot going in there. Takes a bit of strength, doesn't it? 結構力いるんですね、これ。
It sure does.
No way that anybody could do this by themselves, I would think.
Right. Wearing broad-sleeved kimonos requires the assistance of another person.
Very nice. And if you just saw somebody walking down the street like this, you probably wouldn't imagine how much work has gone into it. That's really pretty. It looks beautiful. Extremely elaborate. What's it called?
We call it the treasure knot. because this part here is made to look like the top part of a drawstring bag. And down here is the bag itself, containing treasures.
Okay. It actually does look like that. Yes, that's beautiful.
Today, there are more and more boutiques that deal in antique kimonos, particularly in central Tokyo. Meisen, with their low cost and vast range of designs, are drawing interest from a new generation of young shoppers. In March 2012, a fashion show of antique Meisen kimonos was held. The colours have not faded, even after nearly a century. The vibrant designs still look fresh. These kimonos are a reminder of the unique aesthetic sensibility that the women of that time wore on their sleeve. Every spring, the cherry trees burst into bloom throughout Japan. The elegant, subtle shades of the billowing blossoms tint the whole country, creating a wonderland as the petals scatter in the wind. Today we look at sakura, the cherry trees and their blossom, and examine the undying appeal of Japan's best-loved flower. The arrival of the cherry blossom signifies that spring is at its peak in Japan. Because each tree is only in bloom for about a week, people flock to enjoy this ephemeral beauty. More than 300 varieties of flowering cherries grow around the country. Many of them have simple single-layer flowers with a very delicate whitish-pink colour. As the weather starts to warm up, the cherries begin to blossom across Japan, first in the south and then spreading north. Maruyama Park in Kyoto is famous for this 80-year-old weeping cherry. The slender branches droop almost vertically towards the ground. At night, the tree is artfully illuminated, so that the blossom seems to glow in the darkness. The Yoshino area of Nara Prefecture lies within a UNESCO World Heritage Site. There are some 30,000 cherry trees on the hills here, many of them Yamazakura, or mountain cherries. This variety is distinguished by the reddish colour of the young leaves that appear at the same time as the blossom. The Yamazakura, with their reddish leaves dotting the hillsides, make a charming contrast with the white blooms of other cherries. Since ancient times, cherry wood has been put to many different uses. This timber is from a 200-year-old Yamazakura tree. Thanks to its strength and natural sheen, cherry wood is much prized for use in luxurious furnishings. Cherry leaves are edible and are incorporated into seasonal foods. Salted and preserved, these fragrant leaves are used as wrappings for traditional rice cakes known as sakura mochi. This lacquered box used for storing letters is decorated with motifs both of the blossom and also the falling petals. It's a design that elegantly evokes a sense of springtime. In ancient times, it was the custom for the Japanese nobility to make trips up into the hills in the spring to look at the blossom. This inspired the poetry they wrote. About 1,000 years ago, blossom viewing became an established custom among the nobility. A distinctly Japanese culture developed during this period, and greater importance was placed on the blossom of the trees that grew wild in the hills, especially the cherries. About 400 years ago, blossom viewing caught on as a form of entertainment for ordinary townspeople as well. There were few places where masses of people could come together to party under the blossoms, so cherry trees were planted in parks around Edo, the capital city. In the mid-19th century, a major development occurred. A new variety of flowering cherry was created. Known as Some Yoshino, it has large flowers that are almost pure white with an austere beauty. Because the flowers open before any of the leaves appear, each tree is entirely smothered in blossom. The overall effect is extraordinary. Someyoshino cherries only bloom for a very short period of time, and their petals seem to start dropping almost as soon as they've opened. This dovetails perfectly with the traditional Japanese aesthetic of enjoying not only the beauty of the flowers in full bloom, but also their ephemerality.